Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
How would you feel about the next US president pulling all support from Israel? We should have never been supporting them. Israel has plenty of money for war and healthcare, right? They have free healthcare for God's sake. Like WTF. Imagine all the free healthcare you could have if the Pentagon closed most of their overseas bases and halved the $1.5 trillion per year budget. At this point I'd be impressed if the next US president wasn't a felon, crook, or spy. I just want someone born after the invention of the microwave, not even the appliance, the long-wavelength photon. Buddy, if the next president can even read, I'll be tickled shitless. Man, I would just be excited if we still have a next president. I think not sending Israel 10 billion US tax dollars a year would be great. I think the US not funding the Israeli armed forces would also be great. We send 10 billion to a country with a population of 10 million. Insane. I hope America stops funding them. Edit, wow. Lot of AIPAC supporters coming at us. I hope America never sends Israel another penny or bullet ever again. And I think a lot of Americans feel the same way. My local pothole just asked me what 10B feels like. There's a pothole so big outside of my apartment building it's at least a foot or two deep. But we have the money for Israel. We need to get all foreign influence out of our politics and seriously take a look at lobbying. It's just bribery at this point. It's just bribery at this point. Always has been. I still don't know why the MAGA base is so pro-Israeli. MAGA is at its core Christian nationalism, and end times theology is a big aspect of right-wing Christianity. MAGA supports Israel because they believe it's the God's plan to bring about the end of the world. They literally want to bring the end times upon us so they can be raptured and then they don't have to die. For a group of people so certain that they're going to paradise in the afterlife they sure are afraid to die. Plus, the evangelicals love two things more than anything: abuse and seeing Muslims die. The laws conservatives force through help with the former, and supporting Israel gets them the latter. End times or not, that's things they get to enjoy before any of that. It's not even just the right. Both parties are owned by Israel. There's like 3 Congress people who don't take AIPAC money across both parties. He'd be assassinated lol. Honestly, the most likely scenario. I'd support them, but chances of them living for very long are slim. Just like JFK. It's my bare minimum for a morally acceptable candidate at this point. Pretty much, I'm not voting for anyone who has reverence for Israel or holds them in some special regard. That's my decision for the primary. But in the general, if my choices are someone who will continue the destruction of American democracy or someone who will do everything to prosecute and fix the mess of Trump's presidency but they fucking love Israel, you're goddamn right I'm voting for the latter, as should everyone else. Providing a country humanitarian support is one thing. Sending billions in arms to one country and then billions in aid to the country that is being attacked with those same arms is just fucking stupid. Almost as stupid as giving billions in tax breaks to companies that are making billions in profits and paying less taxes than the average person. Follow the money. The only ones that benefit from war are the rich. When the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. The only minority hurting us all are the rich. We were born to be more than slaves to the rich. Wake up. Sending billions in arms to one country and then billions in aid to the country that is being attacked with those same arms is just fucking stupid. I assume we're funding both sides of many conflicts worldwide. It'd actually be interesting to see a list of all the various countries, causes that we fund. There's a Wikipedia page specifically for that, I believe. I'll see if I can find it. I too like to think about Fantasyland. It would be dope. I'm just asking for a president that isn't insane. Pretty sure asking isn't enough in this scenario. They will say it's anti-Semitic. I would not be surprised if this is an Israeli thread which wants to get data on us. That word has become completely meaningless because they shout it at every criticism of Israel. Do some Israel supporters wrongly claim that legitimate criticisms of Israel are anti-Semitic? Yes. Is there a shit ton of very ugly, very real anti-Semitism right now, often directed at Jewish people who have nothing to do with Israel? Also yes, both things can be, and are, true at the same time. I support pulling all support for Israel. I would love for an American president to put we citizens first. Us citizens, we. A candidate that runs on spending money on healthcare and not Israel will get a hard look from me for my vote. What color do you want your dragon LMAO? Really great. I felt uncomfortable with the US-Israel relationship since I did a report on Israel in the 10th grade, and it's bothered me since then that no one else seemed to understand why I would feel that way. Possibly the same age. I questioned sending money to Israel knowing people in Appalachia had no shoes or school books. Mid-60s. I had family that survived the camps. I never heard any discrimination from relatives, so I cannot grasp what has gone down. I cannot remove an American teenager hands up trying to stop an Israeli tank and bulldozers from wrecking a Palestinian's home during the original war way back. They ran her right over. It was horrific. This might sound right-wing, but I want a president to actually put America first and actually focus on numerous domestic issues we have and leave the rest of the world alone for once. Left-wing here, 100% agree. There's a time and a place for global intervention, and right now we have our own shit to deal with. Plus at this moment in time, we're the bad guys. As a liberal, I 100% agree with this. It's insane that this issue is as big as it is going into the midterms and with how badly we lost 2024. Not to mention liberals, leftists voting third party or Trump because of Harris on Israel, Palestine. I don't care what's happening on the other side of the world. What I do care about is that everything is becoming more expensive. My health insurance deductible is $8,500, and that food I normally get is twice as expensive as it was pre-COVID. I'd love their health care. Vote for politician that will raise taxes to the same rate Israel has and nationalize the health industry. Good luck with that. I'd gladly pay an increased tax rate proportional to what I'm paying now for healthcare, about $24,000 per year for my family. The next US president could literally do anything and it would be better than The Apprentice. I'm happy with a potted plant for the next president. Fuck yes. Israel has universal healthcare. That makes me bitter right there. But they don't need our fucking money. They have a thriving economy and can take care of themselves militarily. Instead, we have been funding what is ultimately apartheid and now genocide. Thumbs up. Israel swiftly sabotaged the US-Iran ceasefire today by massively bombing Lebanon. The US said, "We're done with the war," and Israel said, "No, you're not." The Strait of Hormuz was open for less than a day before Israel provoked Iran to close it again. This hurt US interests in a big way, and it puts pressure on Trump to resume attacks on Iran. Allies, my ass. Netanyahu and AIPAC are dragging us into wars that shouldn't involve us, and they are spending our money to do it. Israel wasn't even consulted about the ceasefire, and got bombarded within half an hour of it supposedly going into effect. It's all Trump talking shite. They are the ones, including AIPAC lobby, that convinced this buffoon it's a good idea to start this war. They aren't stopping now. It's nuts. We need to start looking at our own interests and get rid of a foreign lobby. It's so insane even saying, foreign lobby, WTF. It would never happen. A lot of people said what's happening right now would never happen. How about we just have a president that isn't a complete and utter buffoon? Better yet, maybe we just take a few years off, chill for a bit, iron out the ripples and try again. And also one that doesn't send billions of dollars to Israel while people in the US starve and go homeless and drown in medical debt. It would be political suicide. Despite all the very real problems with the Netanyahu government, Israel is still America's most reliable ally in the Middle East and the only semblance of a democracy. The USA has a tremendous amount of influence over policy there when Americans vote for president who uses it. There's a reason conservatives criticize Biden and Obama for their policy, and it's mainly because they did not write a blank check the way Trump does. Foreign policy is not about getting everything you want from your allies or approving everything they do. It's about having some influence in ways favorable to your nation. Of all our allies, Israel is the most independent-minded and the most willing to endure disagreement and criticism in order to run themselves as they wish. They don't bow to a hegemon, but work with other countries for their own goals. Exactly as the USA does. Despite how it's commonly spun and despite very real ethical dilemma with Israel, there is no other Middle Eastern nation that demonstrates any moral superiority over how it runs itself, and in fact most have shown themselves far more brutal in maintaining their own control. No honest person with an adequate education on the region can disagree without propagandizing. So the USA still benefits much more from its alliance with Israel than it costs us, but Democratic presidents manage that relationship with more boundaries, less personal opportunism than the Republicans currently do. Finally, someone with a reasonable take among so many unserious comments. Israel is under US sphere of influence right now. If we pull back, they will just move to another sphere of influence. They are a solid intelligence ally, we share a lot of defense tech, and they are frankly our front line in a region we wish to exert influence in. Risking that falling under China would be idiotic, and no serious president would consider that. Reddit really betrays how ignorant people are to geopolitical realities. Geopolitical realities are understandably hard for most people to stomach, because they have no deep understanding or education in geopolitical realities. It's hard to fault them for being horrified at what they see, but what they imagine as solutions are so detached from the complex reality of how the international world operates as to be childlike fantasies. I could pity them if their opposition didn't put so much at risk that they count on every day to remain stable. Deleted. Do people really not understand strategic alliances? No, they don't. It's analogous to having a population that's been vaccinated against polio for 70 years and has forgotten what it's like. We are so naive because we've been immunized by a strong military presence around the world, ironically enough. RBG had a quote in a dissent: throwing out preclearance when it has worked and is continuing to work to stop discriminatory changes is like throwing away your umbrella in a rainstorm because you are not getting wet. I'll settle for overturning Citizens United. Not gonna happen. There are friendly airbase in the ME and supplies some of our jet tech. How about war crimes and other crimes, misdemeanors for the current guys running things? Plenty of other friendly air bases in the region, it turns out. Jordan is literally right there, lol. How dare you employ logic and reason? Surely if I scream genocide at you loudly enough you'll change your mind. Logic of having bases. Like US had tens of bases in ME and with far less genocidal states like Jordan. What's a few hundred dead kids when you can use a runway, right?